thank you. Slight change of topic. Another area that we hear a lot about these days is coaching. And employment coaching is a huge and growing industry these days, with good reason, because it's having such a big impact on performance. So if somebody's doing coaching or has some experience of coaching, why would they consider using an assessment like Harrison Assessments?
Well, first of all, many of our users are coaches or companies that have coaches. A large percentage of our usage is that as well. In a nutshell, the feedback that we get back from the coaches is that they're able to do in one session using our product what they were previously able to do in 8 or more sessions.
That's a big difference.
So it enables them to get right to the core of the issues and truly understand the dynamics of the human behavior, and in addition to that, to understand how to approach the person. So coaching is a relationship. So the first thing you need to know is, how do I deal with and approach this person that I'm coaching?
Right.
Because I'm not just coaching from a vacuum. I'm actually working together with this person to either increase performance or develop in some way. And so therefore, before I even approach the person, I need to understand them effectively, how to approach them, how to get their motivation, how to get their trust, how to build appreciation from them to build the relationship so that we can work together more effectively. And to do that, you need to build that affinity. So we not only have an instrument which helps you to understand the person, but we have a set of processes that enable you to build that rapport with the person very, very quickly and very, very effectively, which is integrated with the instrument itself, which then enables you to then understand the values of the person. It enables you to understand the dynamics of the behaviors of the person, and to target and leverage the points that really matter.
And all of this potentially even before you've met them.
Yeah, potentially before you met them, but after you start talking to them, it blossoms.
So you go even deeper.
It blossoms and you go deeper. And the main issue, if you're talking about coaching, is targeting the things that matter. You can go off into a million different things of human behavior and different concepts and attitudes, but what you need to do is to identify the key leverage point for that person in that job or that situation.
But just to clarify, are we talking about professional coaches here?
Well, the system is actually set up so it can be used by really seasoned professional coaches or relatively new coaches.
What would you say is the proportion of the actual user base today?
Oh, it's about half and half, I would say. Yeah.
Right, so lots of both.
Lots of both. And because we focus on, first of all, we focus on getting the person to understand the person that they're coaching, understand their natural abilities, their natural good tendencies, their natural positive behaviors. And by understanding that and focusing on that sufficiently and demonstrating that you understand that builds a tremendous rapport with the person. And as a result, you're able to then get that connection and that cooperation very, very, very quickly with the person.
Great. Should we cut that?
Yeah. Oh, I got one more.
You can just continue.
Yeah,
kind of
just
like-
continue.
Go.
Yeah. The other point is that the paradox itself is a very fantastic coaching tool, because it enables you to see the dynamics of the human behavior. So because people are often manifesting behaviors, what we call stress behaviors. They're not their normal behaviors. And to approach those behaviors, you need to see it differently. And you need to understand that that's the case. And if you interpret that their stress behavior is their real behavior, they will feel misunderstood. You will lose the connection with the person, and you will not understand how to help them. But if you understand that a specific behavior is a stress behavior, so for example, you're coaching somebody that the management says has a certain problem. they're being too harsh on their employees. They're a manager and they're being too harsh on their employees. And if you look at their profile and you see that they, for example, have a very high warmth empathy score and a very, very low enforcing score, you know right away that that's not their normal behavior. They're under stress, and that's a flip behavior. And the reason why they're being harsh is they've been too soft to start with. And as a result, they've flipped into being harsh after everybody's taken advantage of them. So the solution to it is to get them to be more firm and clear up front, okay? Which is very different than saying don't be so harsh. So if you don't understand that dynamic of behavior, you're actually doing the opposite of what's going to help. So as a coach, you need to help them to see themselves clearly and use the instrument to help them see themselves clearly so that they themselves can understand how to better approach that situation.
Good advice. I was curious, you're talking about some general principles here. Do you have an illustrative example maybe that would give help us see the difference between doing coaching with HA and otherwise?
Yeah, I'll give an example of exactly that. So, for example, we have a manager, and that manager is having, difficulty. There's some turnover with that manager, and underneath that manager, and there's reports of the manager being, very harsh and blunt, and we look at their profile, and what we discover is an imbalance, a series of what we call passive imbalances, where they tend to be they tend to be a little bit evasive, they tend to be a little bit just too much not enforcing, right? They tend to be permissive, and you see those behaviors, and then it's the opposite of what's being reported. So that tells us that this person is under stress, and that they're manifesting what we call a flip behavior. So in this case, we simply identify, okay, that's the case, and we look for a path to change it. And that path for this person is very different. We help that person to set rules and guidelines more clearly, to identify situations up front, to speak more directly and clearly before it becomes an issue, rather than after it becomes a problem. And that's a very, very different process than we would use if someone was just a very rough person. And so it tells us how to deal with that situation. So in that situation, we help the person to identify that. And not only do they have a great change in their work behavior, but they probably have a great change in their family behavior as well.
Right. Absolutely. That can be very encouraging.
Yes.
Good. Again, change of topic. We've talked about the major areas of where an assessment can make a difference. And one of them is in the area of getting a competitive edge in attracting people to the company.
Yeah.
Tell us about the issues there and how to handle them.
Well, first of all, people want to be understood. That's a key element. And they want their needs to be met. They don't care that much about your needs, at least to start with. They want their needs to be met. They want the things that are really important to them to be fulfilled in an employment situation. And so we have a report in our system called How to Attract. And that report is specifically designed to identify what people value from employment and what's going to make them feel attracted to employment. So for example, if they have a very high need for initiative, what we would do in that case is explain to them in this particular job in what ways they would be able to take initiative, and hopefully a lot of initiative, and explain to them exactly how they could do that. And by doing that, what we find is that the job satisfaction factors take over from the pay that might be a little bit different, or the other more superficial factors, is that you're actually dealing with people on a level of job satisfaction, and they'll look at the job and much more likely to say, yes, that's an interesting job for me. And not only are they understanding my needs, but they're trying to respond to my needs, before we've ever even started employment.
Right.
Okay? The other thing is that the system itself is so comprehensive that it impresses people in terms of the employer right away. Well, they've looked at all of my skills, all of my capabilities, all of the things that I know how to do. Now they understand that, and I can see clearly from that they're probably going to try to utilize those things, which also is great for me. So in other words, the fact that something has been so comprehensive is already attractive to the person. So between that and the attraction factors, it's a tremendous incentive to draw the best talent to your company.
Interesting thing about this, because you hear an awful lot about people saying they move for the money, or that's the excuse for leaving the previous job. Do you have any views on what percentage of people actually move for job factors and career advancements as distinct from money?
Well, I think career advancement is a really big one. I think there's two that are the biggest factors. First is they leave managers. They don't leave jobs. So if managers have, bad habits or handle people poorly or don't understand them clearly or don't respond to their needs effectively, then they tend to leave those managers and they tend to leave jobs for that reason. But the other thing that is really important to people in terms of employment generally is that they want to know that they can develop themselves, particularly the good ones. Particularly that your most effective and talented people want to know that they can keep developing those talents. And so by showing that out front, that that's your interest, it's tremendous incentive for them to do it. If you're talking about salary and money, of course, if you're paying them half of what they can make somewhere else, you've got a problem. But it's much more of a hygienic factor. It has to be okay, but it doesn't have to be fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.